Welcome back to the channel. For this set of notes, we're going to be going over the median, quartiles, and box plots, how to create a box plot given a data set. What we're going to be looking at in vocabulary is what we call a 5-number summary. That 5-number summary includes your minimum, your maximum, your median, and your first quartile and third quartile. We'll first look at a data set, so we'll put out a data set here. And if you have a data set that's just random, it's generated a bunch of points, what you're first going to want to do is put that data set in order from least to greatest. So we're going to want to order this. Now I have an order from least to greatest. Now we're going to look at this vocabulary and how it relates to this data set. Our minimum value will be our lowest value on there. So we're looking at our lowest value, and you just look to the furthest to the left, and this is my number 2. I'm going to put that onto the number line. So I'll create a number line for myself and find the number 2 and put it there. The next one is our maximum value. We look towards the right and see that 12 is our maximum value. That's the highest one on there. So I'm going to put 12 on the number line. Next one is the median. Now the median gets into how we find the rest of these. So the median is going to be the middle value here. Now what I like to do is just to mark off points as I go. So 2 and 12, 5 and 12, 5 and 11. And I keep going until I get to the center. Now if there's 2 values here, you take the average. You add them up and divide by 2. But since we have an odd data set, there'll be 1 in the center, and that's 8. So 8 becomes our middle value, our median. The median represents the halfway mark, where I can see that about 50% of the data is below the median, and 50% of the data is above the median. So with that lower 50% and the upper 50%, that's where we start working with our quartiles. We're going to look at our first quartile next. That's going to be our middle from the lower half. So I'm going to look at the lower half and I'm going to find the middle there. Not including my median, I count in. So 2 and 7, 5 and 7, and then 5 and 6 become my middle value. Those are right in the middle there. And if I have 2 that are in the middle, I add them up. 5 plus 6 is 11, and divide by 2, I get 5.5. So I'm going to put that right between 5 and 6 on the number line. And our last one of our 5-number summary is going to be our third quartile. That's going to be the higher half, the middle of that. So above the median, the 50% that is above the median, I'm going to take the middle of that, which is, I'm going to be counting in 8 and 12, 9 and 12, and then 9 and 11 are my 2 middle ones. So I'm going to take the average of those 2. I'm going to add them up and divide by 2. So 9 plus 11 is 20. I divide by 2, I get 10. Now this becomes my 5-number summary, and I'm going to want to put these and create what we call a box plot, which is, sometimes you call it box and whisker plot, where you consider this your whiskers going out, but we mark our minimum, we mark our maximum, and then we make a box around our quartile 1 and quartile 3. With a line in the middle for our median. Now, I can see that 25% of the data, about 25% of the data, lies between our minimum and our quartile 1. So our minimum and our quartile 1. Then, because about 50% lie between the minimum and the median, I could also say about 25% lies between quartile 1 and the median. Then we have our quartile 3 or Q3. And 50% of the data lies between, about 50% of the data lies between Q1 and Q3. And then we also have our maximum value. And that sums up our 5-number summary. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. As always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I hope you have a great day.